Hi everyone, good afternoon. So we'll be taking a deep on how does the investors guide from the perspective of technology. So when any investments are done, I mean typically these are some of the experiences what we have learned through multiple engagement what we have done with the investors. So typically they look out for the business strategy, right? A business strategy is one of the thing. Also, your financials, your audits, etc., results. Those are the key things. But there is an additional, I can say, the additional aspect of technology has been added to it because considering the applications which are more tied to the digital of nature, the technology becomes inevitable. So, I mean, if you have good set of technology with good set of founders as well as good set of your business mode as well as your vision, then it becomes more relevant for the investors as well to look deep into it. So likewise we were hearing about some of the experiences from the founders perspective in earlier panels as well as in yesterday's panel as well. So would like to touch base on that what are the things they would look after and what are the things needs to be prepared from that perspective. Before going there, if you guys, I mean, from the introduction perspective, we are Digital Fifth. We are a digital finance consulting firm. We look after multiple services from the consulting perspective. And where do we stand in differentiation is like we do look for the deep engagement with the clients to work with them and to have more, I can say, the involvement in their activities along with. Uh, all the leadership team comes from the practitioner background, so we look after that set of angle as well. And of course, it is followed by the network effect and the thought leadership. We do work on three verticals, the transformation, launch, as well as de-risk and compliances. So these are the typical areas where we work with BFSI as well as banking, NBFC, and large fintechs, investors, multiple set of customers along with that. So we have nine years old now, and have involved with the team of 30 plus members sitting across Mumbai and other cities as well. Coming back to our topic, technical due diligence, we call it as that service which is very specific to the investors, where we we try to deep dive into the platforms along with the business models, right? Because if you see India's financial innovation, India is typically leading all the financial innovation. If you see on the payment side, if you see on the lending side, right, these innovations are setting up the benchmark for multiple services out here. And the ecosystem is also expanding. I mean, be it digital lending, open banking, right, or we can say wealth. Insurance is another area where this all expansions is being started as well. And these are the platform first business models. We heard about multiple platforms on the forums earlier as well. So these are around the platforms, right? So all the business models are driving around the platforms. I mean, there are multiple friends of us in here who have worked on building the platforms which can build a business for their clients, which is again BFSI sector as such. So there the technology, technical diligence is becomes very much important part of it. So yeah, what does it cover, right? So typically we try to cover it with the architecture design. So we understand the overall architecture, what architecture have been considered, how that has been designed, what is the process being followed for the development. So architecture design is very base of it, and then the process coverage of it, where what are the development practices are being followed, what are the platforms are being used, what are the technology has been adopted. API capabilities, integration capabilities becomes a very important thing now, because if you have platform and if it is independent platform and not able to connect with there is no cross, I can say cross functional add on to it without the API integration, that platform becomes silo, and silo platform doesn't help, because that to cover up that, I would say integration, you will have to set up a manual process, which again may go deep into the typical errors of manual, delays, be it a human error, be it complexities related to the processes, people, all those things come into the picture. And cyber security, because cyber security is typically nowadays has become a basic norm that any application which you build has to go through basic VAPT, right? It has to go through manual testing, AppSec testing has to be there, right? Because we have seen a lot of platforms even today also which are vulnerable for say SQL injection, or you will have some gaps in the coding, right? So that practices we also look after, and becomes important. Another part is team skills, because I would say one of the examples which we are going through, where the platform was good, architecture is good, but everything is built around a person in a technology team, right? So in such cases, what happens? You will always have the what I can say, the risk of that person, right? I mean, there can be multiple scenarios that can happen if it is not well documented, the process is not well set up, the team is not been built up, right? Only one person having that skill may not be helpful. I mean, if I want to build a development team, my whole team should know all the technologies that we are using and we are intended to use in the future, right? So that training should be given to the team, so that team will be up to the scale, and they'll also be able to contribute for the long term. So that is something which we try to see. And then the regulatory compliance, because now SOC2 as well as ISO 27001 are the basic standards which are to be followed, right? One follows basic on the process side, another follows your overall coverage of how does this, how does the organization is taking care of all the basic security postures as well. Yeah. What are the objectives of investor while they, discuss along with the for the technology due diligence? One is what are the risk, and how does the technology is been used as a growth enabler, right? And what are the typical costs has been identified for that, and what are the competitive advantages they are building? So, we have worked with few of the investors, right, where they a simple example. If you see in the market and you just go and find out for the LOS, you will get plenty of LOS, right? You will get hundreds of LOS in the market which are there used by, okay, platforms are available. If you want to deep dive and find out the use case, you will find similar use case being adopted. If you want to find out the customer base, you will find similar customer bases there, right? Everybody serving large fintechs, large banks, large lenders are there, NBFCs are there. So where is the differentiator, right? So that differentiator is they try to look it from the technology perspective. So business cost perspective or offerings perspective, that is very much they take care during the business due diligence. But technology due diligence is another add-on angle to ensure that the digital products are being served. As I said earlier as well, digital product without technology wouldn't be helpful. So that is something they try to cover up from this technology due diligence. And when it becomes critical, right? When you have investment triggers, right? So if there are merger or acquisitions, there are seed round investments, right? There are partnerships which are becoming, right? There are market expansion initiatives. For that, funding may arise. There might be a regulatory shift, regulatory compliance shift might be there. So that is where it becomes pretty important to have this activities, right? So there are also can be a shift of the business model as well. I mean, some of the organizations or some of the fintechs sometimes want to enter into new business territory. So you would see a lot of fintechs which are in the payments domain want to enter into lending domain, right? Lending to payment or payments to insurance and all over, right? Because typically if you see financial services works in basic, what you can say, business models, that is give and take, right? Credit and debit. Now everything built is on top of that is another process and technological layer which is making each and every offering different, right? So that is where this technology due diligence becomes very much critical. So yeah, what are the base things that becomes, pillars of it? One is platform capabilities, which takes care of user experience and interface quality. So user experience has gained a lot of traction now. So likewise, if you see today, there are multiple, I would say, applications which are there in your phone. right? Even just to see, the example of UPI, right? You can do UPI transaction through Google Pay, Phone Pay, and any PSP app which is available. But once you register on Google Pay, you will be hooked to Google Pay. If you are a Beam user, I have some of the examples who are the Beam users who initially started using Beam, still they are stick to that platform, right? And so because of that, it becomes very much important that there is a competition. If there is a user experience is not good, you will definitely switch to another platform, and then yeah, that is done, right? So that becomes a important factor out there. Secondary is operational, admin and operational capabilities. What happens is, let's take an example of, say, I would say LOS, right? Or in case of LOS, you will have a model for user access management, which is typically back-end work, which is done by the operations team. Where the problem comes, right, there are some of the what you can say processes which can be automated through RPA process, etc., to ease out that work. But would it integrate direct to your HRMS? Can it be possible that in HRMS you will have a new employee joining in with sales as a sales manager? Will his user directly get created in LOS? Does LOS has that capability to directly integrate? So those are the things which needs to be taken care of, so that your day-to-day work also eases, and the proper reporting of it should come. So that is also should be taken. And multi-tenant architecture is, that is known to everyone now, because the way the costs are being, the cost dynamics are changing with every tenant. It becomes important that you will have that capability as well. And also the adaptability, that that platform should be adaptable. It should have configuration options. It should not be kind of static platform that ऐसा ही चलेगा, right? That doesn't work nowadays. From technology perspective, cloud has been adopted pretty well in this space. So cloud native architecture in the cases where it is required, that is being followed, because not all applications will be there on the cloud or related to cloud, but wherever applicable, there that becomes important. Also the scalability and performance, how does that works on the scale? Now taking example of, say, any financial switch, right? Now financial switch of your prepaid card and UPI can have the same capability. Both will have to have the UPI definitely have to have your capability to handle the scale, which is growing and which is constantly growing, right? So that is also been evaluated. So we do not do the performance testing, etc., but that is something which we govern the reports which have been done and which have been identified for that. Also the resilience, right? In earlier panel, when we were talking in the morning, we had a discussion on downtime, right? So downtime is a nightmare for any technology person, right? Especially in payments domain. So that is also been taken care of, that how do you handle the downtime if in case there is any distraction or there is any interruption in the service, how that has been picked up. And also the documentation. Typically, documentation are never been focused upon. So we have seen a lot of API companies, right, who are the companies built on API but don't have the API documentation, right? And the problem with that is the period you usually take for the integration, that becomes one of the bottleneck. Now you don't have the documentation, so you rely only on the conversation. So there is no proper version maintenance is there. So being the company based on API, no API documentation. Those are also the instances which are possible in this. Also the quality of API. You have so there are many platforms who are built on APIs, but what is the quality of that API? Are there's been maintained in proper kind of security protocols? Do you have segregation of APIs based on the functions they are functioning and all? And the developer experience, how the experience will be there for the developer who are going to do the integration, as well as ecosystem management. So be it API gateways, rate limiting policies, throttling mechanisms, monitoring tools for stability and growth perspective. Also, there are integrated red flags, right? So, kind of analytics which is built on the top of your users of API or users of platform altogether. Also, we look after the cybersecurity framework, what I mentioned earlier, right? What are the data protection controls that have been taken care of? How does the incident response readiness is there? How does the vulnerability management been taken care of? Or third-party risk exposure as well. I mean, there are multiple platforms which will be taking care of third-party exposure, but in very limited way, or I would say in very limited manner as. So now on the last part of it, which is on again on the regulatory compliance side, where it takes care of what is the regulatory landscape assessment which is there, be it RBI guidelines, there are PCI DSS as applicable, there can be DPDPA, GDPR. So based on that applicability, that is also been taken care of. There are IP and software licensing. So there are cases where how does the IP has been handled, how does that IP has been maintained for that, and what from the compliance perspective, what are the future strategies, and how does the risk mitigation is taken care from the investor perspective. So, from the regulations perspective, the key, the regulations I would say that would take care of is to drive it is KYC. Of course, where any onboarding channels will have to go through this. The IT governance and risk controls framework. Yeah, these are the another important one. IT outsourcing guidelines have been for the financial institutions, that are the another important aspect that has come up from how do you manage your vendor, how do you take care of the compliances that have been followed by the vendor for their platforms. Also, it becomes with digital lending and FLDG guidelines which are there. And of course, for NBFCs, master direction is there. So we go through that as well. How does that take checklist gets formed for the any fintech which is partnering with any NBFC for as a distributor. Also, on the in case of depend on the type of engagement it is. If it is a payments, then the prepaid instruments are there, DPSC guidelines are there. How these guidelines are being followed? Are these guidelines follows the checklist which have been given by the RBI for these platforms? So, how does this been understood is like they should comply some of the key I would say the regulations which have been which have been given for this. So it is like there can be multifaceted checks, complexities definitely would be there to cover. There are data and security standards that are to be followed. And these are kind of time-consuming activities at certain places, so that has also been taken care of. And some of the activities will be periodic in nature. So you will have maybe yearly VAPT process. You will have 6 months VAPT process. So what is that process? How does that has been taken care of? Many times this has been also observed that the VAPT is conducted, but the subsequent items are still, the vulnerabilities which have been quoted as high are still open after 1 year as well. So that how seriously the fintech is looking at that is also been taken care of this one. And the parallel tracks, multiple check becomes kind of various compliances checks will be there. So are they applicable and how are they been followed upon? Yeah. So, from the last perspective, I will touch base on this part on the policy and process misalignment, because many of the times it happens that the policies or processes are not been followed or not been audited properly. So, what is the evidence and audit expectations is there? What banks and FIs should took care of, and what are the good practices that have been followed. So if you see what are the approval workflows are there, exceptions logs are been maintained or not, that has been taken care of. So as well as from how does these policies are mapped against each of the requirement which is there been followed as a part of integration. And are these policy controls been taken care of in the periodic manner based on the quarterly reviews or be on the half-yearly reviews. So these are the typical areas what we look after when we conduct the technology due diligence services. And to share from the initial experiences, we defined out these gaps as well. Thanks to the regulators which have been making this kind of security at first, and kind of new processes which also covers the, instead of DevOps now it is DevSecOps, right, which takes care of security at first end itself. So in such scenarios, we find it pretty comfortable at certain places as well. With this, I thank you everyone for paying attention here. So thank you so much. Thanks.